So there's that coming up. There's also a video I think about a video game I think that needs to be remade or have a sequel. And we also
have several standalone videos for Titanfall 2, Nier Automata, Disgaea, Cyber Stadium Series Basewars. Welcome back, family and friends, gamers, and cat lovers. This is a video that I've wanted to make for a very, very, very long time. Almost 10 years ago now, back in 2018 is the first time I came up with the idea for this video. And I've delayed it so many times and it's taken so long that this video is now being broadcast from the future back to the past. That's not true. The video is actually very much being recorded today here on planet Earth in my closet. Why my closet? Because this is where the audio sounds the best. This is where I've always made all my videos, right here. Not all the videos, but recent videos are all recorded right here in this closet until I get a sound room and a studio and all that good stuff. Today, all the videos are going to happen from here. So today's video, I'll be going over one of my old favorite games from when I was an adolescent. And why today of all days? Because today is the 35th anniversary of this game. Cyber Stadium Series Basewars. Really one of my favorite games. And how I'm going to do this video is I actually wrote a script way back in 2018. But instead of starting over from scratch and making a brand new script, essay, whatever, what I'm going to do is read the old crappy one and kind of react to it. Because some of it's outdated, but the biggest reason why I want to keep it is because I talked to my father in it, who has since passed. And so this is special to me to just be able to read the original one and then just share extra thoughts on top of it. So without further ado, let's get into my original crappy script from 2018. So it starts with, I had been thinking about how competitive gaming has taken over the gaming industry. Games like Fortnite, Call of Duty, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, all games I haven't played, I might add. Now, let me interject real quick. I have played Fortnite since, and I played a crap ton of Apex Legends. So I have, since the writing of this, I have played a lot of competitive fight multiplayer games. But anyway, let me continue. Fighting games, sports games, hell, even single-player games need to include competitive multiplayer versions. Metal Gear and Metroid Prime come to mind. I'm not particularly fond of competitive gaming and prefer co-op. Ask anyone who knows me, I have an ugly side when it comes to competition. Now, before I get into the competition bit, I mentioned Metal Gear and Metroid Prime. So with Metal Gear, that was my first foray back into putting my foot in the water with multiplayer gaming when I played the online for, I think it was MGS4. I had a lot of fun playing that, but I wasn't on it every day. it was me just testing the waters again. And I never played the Metroid Prime one. That was the one that was on 3DS. I forget what it was called, but there was a multiplayer Metroid Prime game that I didn't get to experience. I bought it, but I didn't buy 2 copies so me and Rika could both play. But anyway, as I say, I'm not particularly fond of competitive gaming and prefer co-op. Ask anyone who knows me, I have an ugly side when it comes to competition. So after that, I was going to have a little skit that I was going to play out between me and my friend. I was going to do with headsets, and we were show our game screens and everything from far away. But instead, I'm just going to repeat. This is actually based off a true life story. This was back in the Killer Instinct Mortal Kombat days on the SNES back in 90, 94, 95, probably-ish, around there, maybe 96, probably 95. And I loved using Orchid at the time, when she would turn into that cougar or panther or whatever, and then you could follow up with a bunch of other combos after you hit them with it. And one of my buddies who was really good at the game too figured out how I would always do this combo, and he would always block it, and I would get really frustrated. But why are you always blocking, bro? And he was like, what do you actually expect me to do? Just let you hit me? Like, come on, man. And basically that's, he ended up beating the crap out of me every single time because I was a one-trick pony. And I didn't learn how to evolve, and that's always been my problem with competitive gaming, is I always expect to have like run the same play over and over again and you can't stop me. Maybe the first few times it works, but then after a while, if you're a smart player, you get better at it. And you're like, hey, you're not going to pull that move off anymore. And that's how my buddy was. And I remember rage quitting all the time. You know, back in the day, rage quitting wasn't just, you know, your name just disappears on the screen. You like rage, throw something and, you know, whatever, or stomp off the room and everybody kind of laughs at you and like, man, what's his problem? You know, that was me. I was that guy. So I kind of walked away from competitive gaming for years. So continuing. Anyway, that's when my train of thought emerged from the end of the tunnel. And it's funny because I even mentioned that I started in a tunnel. But anyway, there's a game from our past that desperately needs a remake or a sequel or however you want to look at it. The game I'm talking about, Cyber Stadium Series Basewars, originally released on the Nintendo Entertainment System. And I go on to briefly explain the game and I'll probably add some more to it. This is a baseball game like no other. It combined the basic rules of baseball and included a fighting game where the game and the fights were carried out by robots. Fights, you ask? In a baseball game? Let me explain. How this was implemented was if a batter hits the ball and the ball touches the ground, a toss to the respective base isn't an automatic out. So I'm gonna explain more. So if you hit the ball to the third baseman picks it up, shoots the ball over the first baseman, that's not an out. In regular baseball it is, but not in Base Wars. In Base Wars, it's now a fight for the base. So anytime the ball touches the ground, it doesn't mean that if you get it to that base before they do, it's an out. Like if you try to force a double play, to get that double play, you got to fight for it. That's how it was in this game. So continuing, or as I said, the base isn't an automatic out. The batter and the base's defender have to fight for that base. The best part about this isn't just that you could eventually eliminate your opponent completely from the game, but that you could purchase modifications to make your robot warrior a complete wrecking machine. The customization level was fairly deep for an 8-bit game, and now I'm wondering what a present-day version of this game would be like. Now, this is true, but I mentioned that you could eliminate them from the game completely. Your robots had life bars, and if you beat them to 0 life bar, robot blew up, that's it. He's off the field, now it's a 9 versus 8. So it's kind of similar to like hockey when they get the mega penalty. I'm not very good at hockey, but I know there's a penalty that can put a guy in the box and I got a 5-on-4. Same thing that happened in this game, except the robot, if you could, I think there was a rule too, like if you broke like 3 of their robots completely, then the game was over. It's like you lost the game. So, but anyway, I think I continue here where I try to elaborate more on how I would like the game to get better, or how I'd like to see a modern version of the game. But before that, I share a little bit about my past, and I go, I'm not sure about now because I haven't really played a baseball game since Super Base is loaded for Super Nintendo Entertainment System. Remember this game, Dad?
Right. Out. Home run.
I've seen other games since then and tried a couple, but nothing quite captured the control and feel I like. Like they had they had to make things more complex when we all know simple is best. Now, the thing about this, really quick, is when I say simple is best, I just want a quick nod. That's actually to a Japanese comedy movie called Maiko-han. Maiko-han. It's a funny movie, and if you like Japanese culture and you can kind of get with it, it's a funny movie about a guy, and his main thing is known for simple is best.
Simple is best, yeah.
And I feel the same way oftentimes about many things. Okay, so I got that wrong. It's not just that what he's known for is simple as best. That's not just his main thing. And I do a terrible job of explaining what the movie's about. So here's Rika to tell us what Michael Han is all about.
はい。映画舞妓ハーンは、舞妓と野球拳をする夢を抱く狂信的なサラリーマン鬼塚が、京都への転勤を機にお座敷遊びにのめり込むドタバタコメディです。彼に捨てられた元恋人が、彼を見返すために自ら舞妓を目指して暴走するハイテンションな物語となっています。
Right from Google. Here, enjoy the rest of the video. But anyway, maybe things have changed a bit, but as far as I remember, baseball games have normally been 1v1, where there are actually 9 players to each team. This is where I think the game could be a great opportunity to combine competitive and co-op multiplayer experiences. And what I meant by this before I think I'll elaborate more, but I'm trying to basically pitch my idea for a future baseball, like a modern Basewars game now. Like baseball games are like, I'm pretty sure if you play them now, like it's not like you can get 9 friends and all of you get to man each base and each part of the field, and one's a pitcher, one's a catcher, and you know, all your friends are sitting there waiting, or if you're on the offense, you're waiting for your turn, you know, in the batter's box or whatever. It's literally probably just you versus another guy, and you control 9 players for each team. And I was thinking for Basewars, this would be great if they actually had it where we could all just kind of like create mercenary baseball players, I guess, if you would. And you could go form up with other people and go play a game based on your position. Like, you know, they would have like the queue would show what team needs what, like you need a first baseman, second baseman. And if your player fits those things, you just kind of plug yourself in. But anyway, because I do a terrible job of explaining that, but let's go on to my script here. So I'm trying to say, you could build your robot, initially customize its attributes to be a good baseball or at fighting, and then head online and form a team with friends or randoms, earn money for your robots to buy parts to enhance its performance in baseball and weapons it needs to fight for bases. And here's where I make a suggestion. Since it would be multiplayer, they could probably make it so we can help each other out a little. And I don't mean that we tag team our opponents when we fight for the bases, but perhaps there are defensive healing robots, particularly the outfielders, since they don't have to fight anyone. Maybe they can offer parts that heal a damaged base fighting robot, but at the expense of their ability to play baseball. So I didn't explain this, obviously, in my initial writing, but in that deep customization part I was talking about, you could basically customize your robots either to be really good at fighting or better at the baseball part. So they're good at hitting the ball, fielding the ball, but maybe if you do that, is like the payoff, or not the payoff, the trade-off. The trade-off is now they're better at baseball, but they're not so good at fighting. So if your awesome hitter hits a grounder and now he's got to fight for the base, if the first baseman or the other base is an excellent fighter, you could be screwed. And I think that's kind of typically the strategy I would think with Basewars when you're playing by, you know, the online or the league, is you try to build your infielders to be like these hammers. Like, you're not going to fight on my base. And then your outfielders were normally your ones you would kind of set up as your ones that were robots were better at baseball, fielding, batting, things like that. So I continue. And speaking of fighting, this aspect of the game could use a serious upgrade too. I'm thinking a high caliber fighting game. I think it would be a good challenge for Konami, a good opportunity for them to develop a decent fighting game. It hasn't been an area they've been really successful in. The fighter I remember is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles tournament fighters for the SNES, and I wouldn't really call that successful. And fun fact about that one, I think I remember I entered a Blockbuster tournament thing for gaming that they're having based on your performance. You could, you know, challenge other people. I did terribly. And that was the game they chose to use, was the Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters. And I don't think it was Konami's best. But I think they tried fighting game, and they were like, you know what, let's just leave it to those Capcom and SNK guys. No, we're not gonna do this. We're not gonna get into the fighting game world. And I don't think this would be, they're the ones who own the rights to Basewars. And so I would like to call Konami out and say, hey, bring this game back out and try to make a good fighting game. Or maybe go steal like some of Capcom's guys or something. I don't know. I don't think they would make a good fighting game. I know that I saw that they still make baseball games. There's some Japanese, the one they make based on the Japanese league. It looks really good. And I was thinking, man, that would be nice if they could translate that into Base Wars and then just, like, again, merge the two. Awesome baseball game, awesome fighting game, and put it in one game. I can't think of a funner game to play. It would be so much fun to play if you love sports and fighting games. I mean, it would be a weird hybrid that I feel like would take off. But anyway, I'll continue reading my crappy script. Now that I think about it, Konami has shifted focus from console gaming to mobile gaming, or pachinko machines, right? Which, according to articles I found on a quick Google search, has shown that the move may be paying off. So maybe this could be something they could make for mobile gaming. But personally, I'd like one on console, or, in this case, PC too. I'm just not a mobile gaming guy. Unless you can name a decent one that isn't pay to play, or not the stupid one with the sliding robots, right? I always see the ad, hey, it's just this free game, and you're ruining, not sliding robots, the sliding dudes with the guns shooting at the blue and red guys, get the zombies coming down, and you got, get the plus button or this button. I'm tired of it. Don't tell me that game. Maybe you will tell me that game, and I'll have to go finally try it. I don't know. But anyway, unless you can think of any of these will play. I'd also like to hear if a next-gen Base Wars, I'm asking you guys, the audience, if a next-gen Base Wars is something you'd like to play. Make baseball great again, MBGA. But seriously, you have to agree, or don't. But my belief is that they really made much more original and creative titles when I was a kid. And I don't really think this is up for debate. I mean, I know that they still make original titles and original games now, but I really feel like, I always tell people all the time that I think the best time for video games was like at the back half of the NES and into the first half, like the latter or the middle half of the PS1. PS2 was great, don't you mind, but that was the beginning of everything's rebates. Here, get money back. Everything's a remake, a reboot, a sequel. That was the beginning of it all becoming like this thing where let's just keep making the safe titles that everybody knows that they like to play, versus let's try to make a really original fun games. And Base Wars is literally one of the last fun games to play. I would say go play it, but maybe if you're a person who's the graphics are a thing, you may not like it. The controls are a little wonky too for an older game, but it has a very, 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 very special place in my heart. And it's a game I would really like to see Konami either sell it to somebody so they can make it, or get those guys out there and make them think and make them make you a game that is really awesome that we all want to play. A great multiplayer game that we can all goof around with. And I think I wrap this up with saying what I just said, kind of. I'd love it if the developers took more time giving us unique sports games like this again. Like Baseball Simulator 1. I'm just not into pro sports game scene. I could like to say this about anything really. If the game is kind of based in realism, if the video game is real, like a real setting, I've kind of grown away from a lot of those. And I've mentioned this in many videos already. I'm an escapist. I want to go someplace else, completely different from living here and being in my closet. I'm in my closet and I don't know it. I'm like somewhere else. But anyway, I'm ready to be amazed. But I have a feeling I'll be waiting a long time. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. So that is it for my 35th anniversary video for Base Wars. Like I said, I just wanted to say hello to my dad, I guess, one last time. I'll keep doing it, but it's a really good game. And if you get your hand on an emulator, or one of those console things that like cartridges, and you get your hands on a cartridge, I'm pretty sure it can't be that expensive. But Base Wars was a really fun baseball game. And it was, like I said, the league you could play with your friends, because the way memory worked back then, you could save it just on the cartridge or in the system, not in the cartridge. And you could literally have all how you decided to develop your team versus how your friends decided to develop your team. And the thing is I really have anybody to play with back then. It was just my brother, and even he didn't really like games. That doesn't mean the game's not good. It just he didn't really, it wasn't a game he really got into. But I spent hours. I sank hours. I would create like mini leagues, and I would just experiment with all the different like types of upgrades you could make to your robots. And yeah, I would love to see a reboot, a remake of Cyber Stadium Series Basewars. And if you agree with me, somebody with more influence than me, go yell at Capcom Konami and tell them to do it. So, see you guys on the next one.
I stay sit down in my room with the lights all low. The console stay humming and they ready for go. I pop in the disc and I grab the controller. My heart start for pump like one big steamroller. The graphics stay crisp like one fresh mountain stream. This game stay more real than my favorite dream. I see every leaf and I see every stone. And I never felt this kind of power in my bone. The story stay deep and the action stay fast. I hoping this feeling is going for last. Brightest game.
Okay, wait. I'm coming out of the closet. Come on, I just want to say that Little Red Guy's right. You know, how can I say one era is better than another era just because one has reboots, remakes, and sequels, right? And it reminds me of another dumb opinion I have that I'm famous for. Well, I'm not famous, but I say it all the time, or I used to say it all the time, which is it's our fault. It's my generation's fault that we have all these reboots, remakes, and sequels because we couldn't escape our nostalgia. And so therefore we couldn't make anything new. But then that's not true either because, again, I said the PlayStation 2 is where all the reboots and remakes happened, but that's also where the magic happened. 2004 is that's when Monster Hunter came out. So, I mean, there's still original magic out there, but, you know, and plus maybe the market spoke back in the 1980s, right? If Base Wars was good, maybe there would have been a sequel already. You know, there would have been a sequel, or a remake, or reboot, something, right? So, but I can't help myself. Konami, don't make me wait another 15 years for a reboot, remake, or sequel of Cyber Stadium Series Basewars. All right, I gotta throw my work clothes in the dryer. See you guys later.